Well, you know her for a long time, Hi, so I don't have to accomplish any introduction of the phone.
The Ed Sullivan Show and the man who changed Sunday night's history tells it clean and simple. The final episode of The Ed Sullivan Show aired on June 6, 1971. Fade to black. End of an era. But television history has a way of polishing the truth, sanding down the rough edges until the story feels neat. In reality, the true ending came earlier, quietly, deliberately, and without giving Ed Sullivan the dignity of a goodbye. On March 28, 1971, Sullivan walked off that stage believing he'd just finished another Sunday night broadcast. The lights dimmed, the audience applauded, the curtain fell. What he didn't know was that it was the last original episode he would ever host. 2 days later, CBS announced the cancellation. No warning. No farewell speech. No final bow. The remaining weeks were filled with reruns, carefully stretched out until June, creating the illusion of a proper ending. But the real curtain had already dropped. To understand why that silence mattered, you have to understand the man. Born Edward Vincent Sullivan in 1901, he grew up in a household marked by early tragedy, the loss of siblings before he was old enough to understand grief. Yet the Sullivan home was anything but quiet. Music filled the rooms. Family gathered around the piano. That rhythm of performance and shared joy stayed with him. Though he would later joke about lacking talent compared to his sister, young Ed was fiercely competitive, excelling in sports and sharpening a sharp, observant mind that would eventually reshape American entertainment. He didn't start in television. He conquered newspapers first, building influence as a New York columnist who could make or break Broadway careers with a few sentences. By the time television arrived in the late 1940s, Sullivan was already a cultural gatekeeper. When producer Marlowe Lewis offered him a variety show in 1948, Sullivan wasn't impressed. TV seemed like a fad. But when he finally said yes, history shifted. The early broadcasts were awkward, painfully so. He stiffened in front of the camera. Critics mocked him mercilessly, calling him the Great Stone Face. They said he had no personality at all. What they missed was that his lack of polish became his power. He wasn't flashy. He wasn't glamorous. He was ordinary. And America trusted him. That trust turned Sunday nights into ritual. Families gathered around glowing screens to see who Sullivan would introduce next. And who he introduced changed everything. From Elvis Presley to the Beatles, from Broadway stars to rising comics, Sullivan became the bridge between unknown talent and national fame. He gave groundbreaking exposure to black performers at a time when sponsors and executives urged caution. He shook hands, embraced artists, and refused to bend, even when advertisers threatened to walk. Behind that stiff posture was a man with unshakable convictions, and a volcanic temper. Cross him, and doors closed fast. Stay in his favor, and your career could explode overnight. By the late 1960s, though, television was changing. Younger audiences wanted something new. Ratings slipped. The network grew restless. And when CBS finally decided to move on, they did it the way networks often do, quietly. They didn't want to risk giving a fired host one last live microphone. No chance for unscripted words. No opportunity for grievances aired on national television. So they let the show fade into reruns. Sullivan called the move shabby. For a man who had spent nearly 25 years uniting America every Sunday night, the silence cut deep. His health declined soon after. Memory faltered. Friends recalled painful encounters where he no longer recognized the very stars he had helped create. In 1974, he was diagnosed with esophageal cancer. His family chose not to tell him, fearing the news would only confuse him further. Within weeks, he was gone. And so the man who introduced legends slipped quietly into history himself. No grand finale. No dramatic sign-off. Just a quiet, almost hidden ending, much like that final original broadcast on March 28, 1971. The stage was full. The audience applauded. It looked like business as usual. But behind the scenes, the door had already closed. Television history may say June 6th was the end. But the truth, the real goodbye had already happened.